His mother walked into a country club with pride. Minutes later, she was humiliated in front of billionaires. What her son, the CEO, did next no one saw coming. The valet barely had time to open her door before Gloria Samuels stepped out of the black Lincoln Navigator, clutching her leather purse with both hands. She didn't wear labels, but everything about her said quality. Clean lines, pressed seams, and dignity in every step. Her hat was white, wide-brimmed with a ribbon that matched her shoes. A church hat. The kind her late husband always complimented her on. Greenwich Country Club sat quiet under a cloudless sky. Derek told her this lunch would be low-key. Just come, no big speeches, just a quiet toast after the signing. She was proud of him, of what he'd built. A logistics empire that had grown from one warehouse in Trenton to a nationwide supply chain infrastructure. And today it was about to become part of something much larger. The Hathaway Group owed money. Deep roots, but Gloria didn't care about all that. She came to support her son because he asked. She barely made it past the marble steps before a woman in a navy blue uniform stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "Excuse me." The woman said no, smile. "Deliveries and staff use the back entrance." Gloria tilted her head, confused. "I'm here for lunch with my son, Derek Samuels." The woman didn't blink. "Yes, well, if you're with staff or catering, it's policy, the rear access is on the left." Gloria blinked slowly. It wasn't the first time. Someone assumed, but it never stopped stinging. "I'm not staff, I'm a guest. My son is one of the owners meeting here today." Before the woman could respond, a crisp voice sliced through the conversation, like glass dragging across tile. "Well, I suppose they let anyone in these days," said Victoria Hathaway, her pearls resting heavily against her blouse. "Are we letting the cleaning staff dine with us now?" Several heads turned. One man chuckled under his breath. Derek's jaw shifted. He was mid-toast, still holding the champagne flute, but his smile had vanished. He set the glass down slowly, and his colleagues noticed the change in his expression. One of the Hathaway sons, Bradley, the youngest, gave a nervous laugh and said she was probably joking, but Derek didn't hear him. He was already moving. Gloria looked up, her face still calm, but her hands clenched tighter around her bag. Victoria was already walking off, giving no further thought to what she'd said. Just another day for her. Derek walked straight to his mother, placed a hand gently on her shoulder, and looked her in the eye. "You okay?" She nodded, even though she wasn't. "I don't want to make a fuss, baby." "I know you don't," he said, "but I will." He turned to the staffer. "This is my mother. You just disrespected the most important person in this building." The woman opened her mouth, but no words came. She looked embarrassed, now flushed. Derek didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He walked Gloria back to the SUV, opened the door for her himself, and helped her in. She reached for his arm before he closed the door. "Don't ruin your moment over me." He gave her a look. "You are the moment." Then he shut the door and walked back up those marble steps, with a calmness that masked a deep fire brewing beneath. But what he did next, just hours later, shook up boardrooms, headlines, and families from coast to coast. Back inside the dining hall, Derek's seat sat untouched. The pen meant for signing the final agreement rested beside a thick packet of papers. Over a year of negotiations, revisions, and corporate alignment strategies. All leading up to this day. A champagne tower gleamed near the windows. Everything was in place except Derek. The mood shifted the moment he returned. Not dramatically, there was no yelling. No angry declarations, just that heavy, tense quiet that follows a storm cloud. No one dares point at everything. "All right?" asked Preston Ward, Hathaway's general counsel. His voice held forced calm, the way a man speaks when he senses $1 million problem and doesn't know where it's coming from yet. Derek didn't answer right away. He looked around the room, the board members, the family, the lawyers. Then his gaze stopped at Victoria Hathaway. She was still sipping her wine, half turned in her chair, legs crossed like she hadn't even noticed the disruption. She wasn't just comfortable, she looked certain that this deal was already locked in. That money had smoothed out everything. He walked over to his chair, placed both hands on the back of it, and didn't sit. "I want to say something," he said. A few people looked up. The room didn't quiet. That froze. "You all know how much this deal meant. Not just for our companies, for the markets, for the next generation of tech infrastructure in this country. This merger would have changed everything." He paused, looking at every face one by one. "But I'm not signing it." There were 2 seconds of stillness. Then the voices started, low murmurs, confusion. Someone saying, "Wait, what?" Victoria's head turned now. Not fast, but sharply enough to know she'd felt the slap in his words. "Excuse me," she said, almost a laugh. Derek nodded. "Excuse you indeed. Is this a negotiation tactic?" Preston tried Derek. "If there's a concern, we can go back to the table." Derek finally sat down, not in the signing chair, but the one at the far end, furthest from the paperwork. "No, there's no more table," Victoria scoffed, then leaned forward with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let's not overreact to a simple misunderstanding. I didn't recognize the woman. That's all." He blinked once slow. "That woman is my mother. I'm aware of that now," she replied, trying to keep her voice cool. "But surely no." Derek cut her off, voice low, almost gentle. "You knew what you were doing. You said what you meant." Preston cleared his throat. "We've invested millions into PrEP. Both sides, there are legal implications here." Derek leaned back unbothered. "Then I'll see you in court. You can explain to a judge why disrespecting my family was part of your strategy." "Don't be emotional," Victoria muttered. "That did it." He leaned forward again, folding his hands. "You think I built this company from a corner office? I loaded trucks, Victoria. I drove routes at 3 a.m. I ran payroll from a folding table. When we couldn't afford an accountant, I watched my mother take the bus to clean houses so I could keep the lights on in our apartment. So when she shows up here wearing her finest, proud as hell, and you humiliated her." "You humiliated me?" No one said anything. Then Derek stood one last time. "There are deals you lose sleep over not signing. This isn't one of them." He walked out. No folder, no papers, no handshake, just silence. But by the next morning, silence wasn't an option for anyone involved. The media had already picked up the story and they were hungry. The first outlet to run it was a small business podcast out of Philadelphia. A guest who attended the merger luncheon leaked just enough. Black CEO walks out of a $900 million deal after mother insulted by white billionaire family. That headline alone had enough fuel to burn. By noon, Tech Pulse, Forbes and Business Today had picked it up by 5. Cable news anchors were already debating it. The story was everywhere, not because a deal fell through, but because of why it did. A camera caught Derek Samuels walking into his downtown office in New York. The next morning, no sunglasses, no entourage, just him holding a coffee and nodding to the front desk receptionist. Like he always did, one reporter shouted, "Was the Hathaway comment the reason you canceled?" Another asked, "Do you regret walking away from $900 million?" He didn't answer, not yet. Inside the building, his team had already been fielding non-stop calls. Some investors were confused, others were furious, but a surprising number were proud. Messages flooded their inboxes. Executives from other firms, warehouse workers, teachers, retired veterans, all saying the same thing. "Thank you for not letting that slide." That afternoon, Derek scheduled a press conference. No press kits, no stage backdrop, just a single podium, a folding table, and 20 reporters crammed into a conference room built for 10. He stepped up to the mic and looked tired but steady. "I didn't cancel the deal because of money," he began. "I canceled it because the second you allow disrespect into the room, it spreads. I wasn't raised that way, and I won't build a future on top of silence." A woman from CNBC asked if it was true that Victoria Hathaway had made the comment directly. Derek didn't flinch. "Yes." "Loud enough for people nearby to hear, loud enough for my mother to feel it. Some might say that's not a reason to walk away from a company-defining deal." Another reporter chimed in. He nodded slowly. "Depends on what kind of company you're trying to define." The room fell quiet again. "Respect isn't negotiable, and if we start trading that for contracts, then we've already lost." He stepped down, walked out just like he had the day before. But outside that conference room, the world had changed. And in places where people usually whispered, they were suddenly speaking loud. That same night, clips of his speech made it to TikTok, X, and YouTube. A former employee of the Hathaway family posted a story of being told to use the service elevator during a charity gala. A leading caterer shared how she'd once been asked to remove her apron before entering a front lobby. For a setup, the thread got thousands of shares in hours. Derek hadn't planned any of it. He wasn't trying to start a movement, but sometimes all it takes is one person standing still for others to find their footing. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the Hathaway Group was scrambling. In an emergency board meeting, Victoria's oldest son, Clinton Hathaway, who'd been mostly absent during negotiations, asked the question none of them wanted to face. "Do we have to issue an apology?" Victoria frowned. "I don't apologize to people who overreact. You insulted the man's mother, Vic. Someone snapped in public during the deal signing. What did you think was going to happen? We've made comments worse than that to each other in this room, she argued. And none of us lost $1 billion acquisition over it. Clinton muttered, but the numbers were shifting. Stockholders started asking questions. Brand analysts warned about reputation costs. Even their PR firm hesitated when asked to bin the narrative. That weekend, the Hathaway name took a hit. People remembered every story they'd heard and buried every encounter that didn't feel quite right. What had once been seen as old money class was now under a new lens, entitlement with a smile. But while the Hathaways scrambled to contain the fallout, Derek was about to face pressure of a different kind. This time from inside his own circle. Inside the New York headquarters, things weren't exactly peaceful either. Derek's decision had made him a symbol in the public eye. But symbols attract weight pressure scrutiny. Some of it came quietly behind closed doors. Some didn't. He met with his executive team in the upstairs conference room, a wide glass space overlooking Market Street. Most of them had been with him from the beginning, some since the warehouse days. But loyalty has layers and not everyone was on the same page. Elliot Trammell, his CFO, was the first to speak up. We need to talk about what this means long term, not just this week, 6 months out. We had international infrastructure tied to this merger. Derek, I know. Derek replied calmly. We're looking at legal backlash. Hathaway is already drafting breach claims. Their lawyers are saying you killed the deal for personal reasons. It wasn't personal, Derek said it was.